On a bright September night in 2009, millions watched as Kanye West stormed the MTV stage, snatched the microphone from Taylor Swift, and declared that Beyoncé deserved the award instead. The crowd gasped, cameras froze. In a few chaotic seconds, one of the most celebrated artists in music history transformed into its most controversial. But that was only the beginning. In the years that followed, Kanye, or Ye, as he would later rename himself, became both genius and headline. Prophet and Pariah, his albums redefined hip-hop, yet his words ignited cultural wars. He wore a MAGA hat, praised Donald Trump, called slavery a choice, and was accused of antisemitic remarks that cost him millions in brand deals. Then came the collapse of his marriage to Kim Kardashian, America's most famous couple turned public battleground. Once hailed as the voice of a generation, Kanye West became a riddle of fame, faith, and fury. Was he a visionary ahead of his time, or a man consumed by his own ego? Before the world judged him, it's time to understand how a boy from Chicago became both a cultural icon and his own worst enemy. Kanye Omari West was born on June 8, 1977, in Atlanta, Georgia, but his real story began in the city that would shape him, Chicago. His parents' separation when he was just 3 left a lasting mark. His father, Ray West, was a former Black Panther and respected photojournalist. His mother, Donda West, was an English professor and chair of the English department at Chicago State University. Between them, Kanye inherited both rebellion and refinement, the fire to challenge authority, and the intellect to articulate it. Raised by his mother, Kanye grew up surrounded by books, poetry, and music. Donda recognized early that her son wasn't ordinary. While other children played outside, Kanye was sketching sneakers, writing rhymes, and experimenting with beats on borrowed keyboards. His mother nurtured his imagination, often saying, "Kanye sees the world differently." That difference would become both his gift and his curse. Chicago in the 1980s was a city divided, rich in art, but scarred by poverty and violence. Kanye's world oscillated between privilege and hardship. Donda took him to China when she taught abroad, exposing him to new cultures. But back home, the streets taught him grit. This duality, intellectual confidence and raw survival instinct, would later define his music. His mother's support was absolute, his anchor through every storm. She was the only person who could calm him when his temper flared, the only one who could challenge his ego without being rejected. Kanye often described her as his best friend, his moral compass, his entire world. But that closeness would later turn into the deepest wound of his life. When Donda West died unexpectedly in 2007 after cosmetic surgery complications, the event shattered him. Friends say he never fully recovered. The man who once declared himself a god began his descent the moment he lost the only person who made him feel human. Kanye's path toward greatness didn't begin in fame, it began in classrooms and basements. In the late 1990s Chicago music scene, where ambition hummed louder than the speakers. After finishing high school, he attended Chicago State University, where his mother taught. But even surrounded by academia, Kanye's mind was somewhere else, inside the beats he was building night after night. He often slept beside his sampler, dreaming of revolutionizing hip-hop, restless and convinced that formal education couldn't contain his creativity. He dropped out of college at age 20. That decision would later inspire the title of his groundbreaking debut album, The College Dropout. His mother didn't agree at first, but she understood. Kanye was chasing something larger than stability. He wanted legacy. He started out producing tracks for local artists before getting his first major break producing for Jay-Z's 2001 album The Blueprint. His sound was revolutionary, soulful samples twisted with sharp drums, emotional yet raw. Suddenly, Kanye was no longer the kid from Chicago, he was the new sound of New York. Producers, critics, and fans took notice. But Kanye didn't want to stay behind the console, he wanted the microphone. Executives laughed at the idea of a producer turned rapper with a backpack and a college boy image. "You'll never make it," they said. Kanye refused to listen. He recorded his verses secretly, saved every dollar, and built his own vision track by track. In 2002, a near-fatal car accident changed everything. After falling asleep at the wheel, Kanye shattered his jaw in 3 places. Instead of retreating, he recorded through the wire, literally rapping with his jaw wired shut. The song became a statement of defiance, his declaration to the world that pain would never silence him. By the time The College Dropout released in 2004, Kanye West was no longer an underdog, he was a phenomenon. Critics called him a visionary. He called himself the voice of a generation. When The College Dropout hit the shelves in 2004, it didn't just sell, it redefined what hip-hop could be. At a time when rap was dominated by gangster imagery and materialism, Kanye West arrived wearing pink polos, Louis Vuitton backpacks, and verses about faith, insecurity, and social pressure. His honesty was revolutionary. Critics hailed him as the future of hip-hop. The album won multiple Grammys, sold millions, and cemented him as a creative force unlike any other. Success, however, only intensified Kanye's hunger. He followed up with Late Registration, 2005, collaborating with composer John Brian to blend classical instrumentation with rap, a bold experiment that paid off. Then came Graduation, 2007, a sonic and visual masterpiece that transformed stadiums into cathedrals of sound. The single, Stronger, became an anthem of ambition, fusing Daft Punk's electronic energy with Kanye's raw drive. Every album felt like an evolution, each one larger, louder, and more personal. Yet, behind the applause, Kanye's foundation was shaking. In 2007, his mother Donda, the person who had believed in him more than anyone, died suddenly due to surgical complications. The loss devastated him. Days later, he broke down on stage, unable to perform. That grief became the emotional backbone of 808's and Heartbreak, 2008. An album that replaced braggadocio with vulnerability. Its auto-tuned wails about loss and alienation split critics but inspired a new generation of artists like Drake, The Weeknd, and Kid Cudi. Kanye had turned mourning into music, and pain into influence. By 2010, he re-emerged with My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, an album many critics still call one of the greatest in modern music. It was grandiose, decadent, self-aware, a confession and coronation rolled into one. The same man who once declared, "George Bush doesn't care about black people," on live TV now stood at the pinnacle of art and chaos, blending gospel, classical, and rap into a vision of divine madness. But fame magnified his flaws. The media turned every outburst into a headline, every opinion became a scandal. Kanye had achieved everything he'd dreamed of: money, power, artistry, but the cost was isolation. He once rapped, "I always find something wrong," and the world soon saw that truth unfold in real time. Kanye West had become a genius trapped inside his own myth, a man who changed music, but could no longer control the story being told about him. At the height of his fame, Kanye West sought what he had lost since his mother's death: stability, intimacy, someone who could understand the chaos behind his genius. He found that, or thought he did, in Kim Kardashian, the reality TV star who had built her own empire on fame and visibility. When their paths crossed in the early 2010s, the media called it a publicity stunt. Kanye called it destiny. Their relationship was a collision of two worlds: hip-hop royalty and reality television power. Yet beneath the surface, they shared more than cameras captured. Kim often said Kanye gave her confidence, taught her how to embrace art and design. He, in turn, found in her the family structure he craved, a sense of belonging. In 2014, their lavish wedding in Florence was broadcast across global headlines. For a brief moment, it looked like Kanye had found peace. Together, they built an empire that blurred the lines between music, fashion, and pop culture. Kanye's Yeezy brand became a billion-dollar phenomenon. Kim evolved from tabloid star to business mogul. They had 4 children: North, Saint, Chicago, and some, and for years. They seemed untouchable, but behind closed doors, fractures began to appear. Kanye's mental health struggles, which had always lingered beneath his brilliance, grew more visible. He spoke publicly about his bipolar disorder, alternating between moments of inspiration and chaos. Kim often defended him, describing life with Kanye as beautiful but unpredictable. Then came the unraveling, his outbursts on social media, his tearful 2020 campaign rally where he spoke about nearly aborting their first child, his attacks on Kim's family, and his public spiral that turned private pain into internet spectacle. The marriage couldn't withstand the pressure. In 2021, Kim filed for divorce. What followed was a global media circus, public feuds, custody battles, and diss tracks aimed at Kim's new partner, comedian Pete Davidson. Kanye raged online, declaring love and war in the same breath. It was heartbreak televised. Yet even amid the chaos, fragments of sincerity remained. Kim later said she would always love him as the father of her children. Kanye admitted he still dreamed of reconciliation. Their relationship became more than gossip. It became a symbol of the impossibility of love under constant surveillance. For Kanye West, marriage had offered the illusion of healing. But once it ended, the man who once said, "Love is the greatest currency," was left bankrupt in ways money could never fix. If Kanye West's early fame was a story of triumph, the next chapter would be one of implosion. Between 2018 and 2022, the man once hailed as a creative visionary became a lightning rod for controversy. Each headline more volatile than the last. What began as eccentricity spiraled into public meltdowns, political scandals, and cultural exile. It started when Kanye began expressing his admiration for Donald Trump. Wearing the infamous red, "Make America Great Again" hat, he called Trump his brother, saying they shared dragon energy. The gesture shocked his fans, many of whom saw him as a voice of black empowerment. Critics accused him of betrayal. Kanye insisted he was being free-thinking. His defense of Trump, paired with a now infamous remark, "Slavery was a choice," ignited outrage worldwide. Major publications denounced him, and longtime collaborators distanced themselves. But Kanye was only getting started. In 2020, he announced his run for US president, staging erratic rallies where he sobbed on stage, revealing private details about his family and abortion. His campaign collapsed within weeks, but the damage to his public image lingered. Behind the scenes, those close to him worried about his mental health. Reports of manic episodes, paranoia, and sleepless nights painted a picture of a man unraveling in real time. Then, in 2022, Kanye's controversies reached a breaking point. He launched tirades on social media, making antisemitic remarks that shocked even his most loyal supporters. Within days, Adidas, Balenciaga, and other major partners cut ties with him. Forbes reported that his billionaire status evaporated almost overnight. He lost business deals, brand endorsements, and public sympathy in a single, catastrophic wave. The man who once walked runways in redefined fashion was now banned from platforms, condemned by communities, and financially gutted. Yet amidst the chaos, there were glimpses of clarity. Kanye claimed his words were misunderstood, that he was fighting a battle for truth. Others saw a man consumed by ego and isolation. He accused former allies of betrayal, raged against the media, and declared himself a martyr of free speech. The line between authenticity and delusion blurred completely. His downward spiral wasn't just professional, it was deeply personal. Friends described him as lost, retreating from public life, surrounded only by loyalists and controversy. Even his music, once his redemption, began reflecting turmoil instead of transcendence. The same mind that once created my beautiful dark twisted fantasy was now drowning in its own darkness. What made it all more tragic was that Kanye seemed to recognize his own fall. "I sold my soul to the devil," he once rapped years before his scandals. "I know it's a crappy deal, at least it came with a few toys and a happy meal." Now, those words felt prophetic. By 2023, Kanye West was no longer the darling of the industry. he was its outcast. His genius remained undeniable, but his unpredictability made him radioactive. Where once people debated his music, now they debated his sanity. Fame had not only given him the world, it had also given him the stage on which to destroy himself. In a world that had once worshipped him, Kanye West became a cautionary tale, proof that brilliance without balance can burn everything it touches. When the storm finally passed, Kanye West stood amid the wreckage of everything he'd built, his marriage gone, his partnerships dissolved, his reputation in ruins. The man who once ruled music, fashion, and pop culture had been stripped bare by his own words. Yet even in exile, Kanye refused to disappear. Isolation only made him louder, more defiant, and strangely more human. In early 2023, he withdrew from public life. The paparazzi caught glimpses of him wandering barefoot through Los Angeles, accompanied by a new partner, Bianca Censori, whom he reportedly married in a private ceremony. His silence became its own kind of performance, after years of overexposure. Withdrawal felt like rebellion. For the first time, Kanye seemed to be living without trying to prove anything. But was it peace, or simply exhaustion? Professionally, the fallout was brutal. Adidas ended their partnership, costing him billions, yet in typical Kanye fashion, he found a way to reframe the loss. Money wasn't my goal, he claimed, freedom was. He began releasing music independently, teasing unfinished projects and claiming to have escaped the matrix. Though much of the industry had turned away, his cult following remained, a reminder that even at his lowest, Kanye West still commanded fascination. There were flashes of the old brilliance, unreleased tracks circulating online, experimental fashion pieces that hinted at a man still searching for beauty amid chaos. His work became more spiritual, more stripped down, as if he were rebuilding from ashes. Some critics called it redemption, others saw a slow unraveling. The truth was likely both. Public opinion remained divided. To some, Kanye was beyond forgiveness, a fallen idol consumed by arrogance. To others, he was a tragic figure, undone by grief, mental illness, and the unbearable weight of genius. He had become what he always feared and perhaps desired: misunderstood, mythic, untouchable. In the end, Kanye West's downfall didn't erase his influence, it deepened it. His story mirrored the contradictions of modern celebrity, the intersection of brilliance and madness, faith and pride, creation and destruction. And though the world might never see the same Kanye again, one thing remained certain: he would never stop trying to rewrite his own narrative, even if it meant burning it down first. Today, Kanye West, or Ye, as he now insists on being called, lives in a strange twilight between exile and legend. He no longer dominates headlines daily, yet his shadow still hangs over the worlds of music, fashion, and pop culture. Even in silence, he remains impossible to ignore. After losing billions in contracts and nearly all of his corporate alliances, Kanye retreated into privacy, spending time between Los Angeles, Italy, and remote recording studios. He appears sporadically, often with Bianca Censori by his side, his outfits austere, his expression unreadable. To some, it's the portrait of a man rebuilding himself from the ruins. To others, it's a reminder that the chaos never truly left. His fans still dissect every lyric, every sighting, searching for signs of redemption or relapse. Musically, whispers suggest he's working again, quietly producing, experimenting with gospel and industrial sounds. The same faith that once guided Jesus as king seems to linger. Though filtered now through loss and defiance, he speaks less, but when he does, his words still echo like lightning, unpredictable, divisive, unforgettable. The industry that once crowned him a genius now treats him like a ghost, a cautionary tale of what happens when brilliance collides with ego. Yet even those who condemn him can't erase his impact. From the college dropout to Donda, Kanye West reshaped the sound and scope of hip-hop, turning confession into art and arrogance into poetry. So where does that leave him now? Savior or sinner? Prophet or provocateur? Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between. Kanye West's story isn't finished, it's merely paused, suspended in the uneasy space between repentance and rebellion. Because if there's one constant in his life, it's this. Kanye West has always found a way to come back, even when the world swore he never would.